Should the MLB start considering robo-umps? My answer to this is yes. Yes, indeed. 100% at this point. I used to be on well, there's two teams. There's Team Robo-Ump, and then there's a team of people that think that, um, if you take away the umpire, and you rely solely on the whatever StatCast strike zone, that you're uh, basically taking away a catcher's job, which is framing pitches, which is most of their job. And I used to be on that team, but this season, I am willing to switch teams because of how terrible the umpires have been. There have been at least four bad calls made in the MLB this season, and I'm probably missing some. I probably have just not heard about some. But the ones that I'm thinking of are Conforto's elbow in the Mets versus Marlins game where the Mets won, where Conforto stuck his elbow out over the strike zone and the ball hit his elbow, and the umpire called it a hit by pitch when it should have been a strike. The other one was Alec Bohm when he didn't touch home plate, which admittedly replay review should have gotten this one. I'm going to talk a little bit about how they should replace whatever the hell they're doing at replay review in a bit. But Alec Bohm simply didn't touch home plate. And the Phillies probably shouldn't have won that game as a result. And you see what I'm wearing. I'm a Phillies fan, but I know they shouldn't have won that game. McCutchen running out of the base path the other night, on the other hand, that went against the Phillies, and that could have cost them the game. It resulted in a double play. He didn't run out of the baseline. He wasn't even close. And they said, oh yeah, he's out of the baseline. He was not even close. And then the best one, the unnecessary call that everybody has been screaming about for the past week, was the interference call in the Bruins-Marlins game, which was, without a doubt, one of the worst calls I think I have seen in MLB history. I mean, I think that this call was worse than, well, I can't even think of anything that even compares. Like the one call that broke up the Seattle Mariners guy, I think it was, the perfect game about a decade ago or so. That was at least I think it was a close play. This was worse than that. It was just unnecessary. It was the umpire was trying to, I don't know, get himself involved in the game or something. And I just don't get it. I simply don't get why you'd make that call. And refereeing and umpiring in general has been a big kind of theme with sports. A lot more focus has been on the umps and the referees in sports these past few years, or this past year specifically. With the NHL ref getting fired for saying on a hot mic that he wanted to get a penalty first for somebody, I think, on Nashville, during a hockey game, putting himself into the game. Here's the thing that these umpires and referees need to know. Nobody cares about you. You are not the attention. The attention of the game is solely on the players, the guys that are getting paid a lot more than you're getting paid to play the game. And the refs and the umps that are making these atrocious calls and inserting themselves into the game and trying to establish order and whatever, you are not the entertainment. You are there to regulate the entertainment. Nobody is watching the game for the refs. Except for those Islanders fans a few years ago that were, dressed up in the refs' costumes. Those guys were funny. But nobody else is doing that. Nobody else cares about you. The only reason people care about refs and umps and whatnot are when they're making terrible calls against their team, in which case they hate you. So, and I've gotten into the habit when I go to a sporting event, and a lot of other people I think have taken after this a few years later. When I used to go to Union games, I would, and this goes back to 2017, I would yell, they would announce the officials first, and I would yell, Philly has this thing where we say sucks after they announce the lineup for another team. So they'll say, like, let's say the Capitals are coming in. The announcer will say, center number 8, Alex Ovechkin, and everybody will yell, sucks. And so I would do that with the referees at Union games. And I went to a couple of Flyers games this year, and people were booing when they were announcing the refs, and I was like, there we go. People are getting the hang of this now. So I mean, it's just at this point, like, the refs and the umps really just need to stay out of it. Just let the players play the game. No one is there to see you. And as for robo-umps and the MLB, what changes they make to their system. First of all, I have zero confidence that Rob Manfred will make the right decision on this issue. Even if 90% of fans were calling for robo-umps, even if they held a vote and 95% of fans said that they wanted robo-umps, they still wouldn't do it. They wouldn't. Because Rob Manfred doesn't like doing the popular thing. He doesn't even like doing the right thing. So first of all, the first change that the MLB should make, and I know that all of these are kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but all of these are kind of like, hypothetical. The first thing they should do is that they should make it so the call on the field doesn't have any merit. So Alec Boehm, the call on the field being safe, that shouldn't have any merit, because while there might not be conclusive evidence to overturn it, there was, but if they want to say there wasn't, there was no evidence that he did touch home plate. And I know all the tie goes to the runner things, but if you look at the angle, there was more evidence that he didn't touch home plate than evidence that he did. From the different angles that they were looking at. And so what they do in the English Premier League, and I know that the system isn't perfect, and there's a lot of complaining about the system, but it's a lot better than what we have here. They have a VAR system where they use data, basically, to determine if a player is offsides or something like that, or like if a referee missed a call. I think the MLB should have a system like that, where they can use data like McCutcheon's base path, which I think AWS had, and see the angles of home plate in comparison to where Alec Boehm's foot is. They should use like what AWS is using, what all these companies, I think Google Cloud is another one of them. They should be using these to make the right calls. We don't even need human umpires on the field anymore. You could have the PA announcer announce balls and strikes, and then everything else could be done in Secaucus, where the MLB review station replay center is. And there should be no call on the field. Or if there is an umpire, if there are umpires, they should, have like some sort of watch or something, or something that goes on like their arm that tells them what call to make. Because they don't know how to make calls anymore, and that's pretty obvious. They've been terrible at making calls this year. And so I simply don't care about a catcher framing pitches anymore. And that having a big effect on the game, the umpires switching to robo-umps having an effect on the catcher's position. I don't care. They still have, their job still matters because they have to throw to second, They have to worry about pickoffs. They have to still worry about catching the ball, not letting a ball get past them for a wild pitch. The catcher still has plenty of other jobs. Um, and even before these four major calls, even beyond these, I mean, go to there are these two Twitter accounts that I recommend, at ump scorecards and at umpire auditor. These are two Twitter accounts. You would think, given the content that these guys post, that the umpires are completely blind. The analytics and visuals they provide show just how terrible the umpiring has been this year. It's despicable, and it's just sad. It's sad to see what the league has become, and you know, it's sad to see what umpiring and refereeing across all the major sports leagues has become.